behalf of my colleagues, welcome to today's GNCC Lunch and Learn, generously sponsored by the Employment and Immigrant Services of Niagara. While it is true that money does not buy happiness, we probably can all agree that it can offer freedom and potentially serves as a buffer against some of life's challenges. That is why investing, whether for personal growth or for your business, is such a crucial endeavor. But what does investing look like in the age of artificial intelligence? As AI continues to revolutionize industries, understanding its impact on investing has never been more important. Today, we'll explore the opportunities, risks, and strategies that this technology brings to the table, helping you make informed decisions in this rapidly evolving landscape. I'm Mishka Balsam, and I'm delighted to be your host for today's session. Let me start out with a few housekeeping notes before we begin. If you would like to enable live transcription, you can find that option on your Zoom screen. And please note this session is being recorded and will be made available for your review after the event. If you have any tech-related questions, please utilize the chat function on your screen, and we're here to help you. But before we dive into the discussion, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank our generous sponsor, YMCA Employment and Immigrant Services of Niagara, a steadfast partner in our sessions. Their support is invaluable, offering employment programs that assist job seekers at all levels and providing extensive employment services for employers. And now, without further ado, let's hear from Iris Corrales, Administration Manager at the YMCA Niagara. Iris, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mishka, for that warm welcome on this cold and snowy day. So welcome, everybody, and thank you to GNCC for inviting the YMCA to sponsor today's Lunch and Learn. Our partnership with GNCC has allowed us to reach even more people and employers in Niagara. So we're really happy with that and looking forward to that continuing to grow. Just a little bit about here at the Y. So here at the Y, Employment and Immigrant Services, we're always ready to help any business who is looking to hire, train, or recruit new Canadians, newcomers to Niagara. We're happy to come along and support. Just a reminder that all our services can be accessed at no cost, whether you are a job seeker, an employer, and we always welcome just, phone calls, or if you have questions, a newcomer to Canada, you have questions about them getting started in the job force, or maybe they're looking for work. We're always happy to, like I said, come alongside you guys and support that in any way that we can. So again, we're happy to be sponsoring this Lunch and Learn. The topic is a very interesting one and a very important one, I think, as AI continues to grow and its applications for nonprofits like us or just any business, small businesses continue to grow. Definitely a very interesting topic. So happy to be here. And again, thank you so much for coming and enjoy the show.
Iris, thank you so very much for being with us, being a partner in our Lunch and Learn sessions. And for all of our participants, we actually here at the GNCC have closely worked with Iris and her colleagues on developing many of our own programs internally too. And it has been an excellent service that is not only available to us, but to organizations across Niagara. So I really encourage every one of you to get in touch with the YMCA of Niagara and explore their employment and immigrant service that they have. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And now over to our topic. And it's my pleasure to introduce Brandon Currie, someone who is very familiar in the Niagara community. He is a community builder in his various roles with organizations such as Wise Guys, Niagara Grape and Wine Festival, the Chamber as well previously, and a regular guest on 610 CKTB. And as well, he is a certified financial advisor at C.S. Smith Financial and Sun Life Financial. So Brandon, thank you so very much for being with us on this very important topic. We really are looking forward to your presentation. And for those for all of us, the presentation will likely be around 20 minutes. It can be a very interactive one, and we really do encourage you to place some of your questions maybe in the chat function. Brandon and I will have a chance to see them on our end, and please know that we're committed to getting to all of them. Some of you who are maybe watching it after the event, just a recording of it, please note that we have looked at all of your questions and we're trying to incorporate all of them in this hour that we have together. So on that note, Brandon, I am going to pass it over to you for the next about 20 minutes to half an hour, and then we'll come back with some questions.
Thanks very much, Mishka. Really appreciate it. If sound breaks or whatever, please feel free to let me know. I'm not the best with technology. So how did this come about? There's a little bit of a backstory. So it just so happened that what happens every day in our firm and what we do is we get clients that call in, existing clients, potential clients, people that are looking for information. Happens all the time. And it just actually happened today where we get an inquiry from a potential client, and the amount of misinformation that surrounds finance, especially when it pertains to social media and AI and do-it-yourself platforms like Robinhood, Wealthsimple, etc., and the commercials that are on TV, and the fine print that no one actually reads or can read, in to be completely fair, but it checks the legal box. And about a month and a half ago, got permission to say this, so it's not disparaging in any way. Like, it just, for my sister emailed me a link, which I will show you in a second. And she obviously has me as a resource, and she emailed me and she's like, "Hey, can this happen?" And I watched the video. I'll let you watch the video, and then I'll give you my interpretation. So I'm going to share the PowerPoint presentation.
Hey, sweetie, I have something so awesome to give you. Our house, mortgage-free, paid off. It's all yours. That's really great, Mom, but I don't want it. But why? Why would you not want to keep it? You've lived here almost your entire life and it's paid off. Why would you not want it? I do, Mom, but when you bought the house, it was only $250K. Now it's over $900K. So now, because you've made all of that money on it, I'd pay over $700,000 in capital gains if I decided to sell it. Seriously? Then what am I supposed to do? Mom, of course I have a better solution. Here's what we're gonna do first. First, we're gonna set up a trust. Then we're gonna put the house inside of that trust. Then we're naming me as the beneficiary of the trust. That way, heaven forbid anything happened to you, I automatically get whatever is sitting in that trust. Then I'd use the step-up basis, meaning that any of the appreciation that happened over the ownership of the house, so that $700K of appreciation, I wouldn't be responsible for paying taxes on. This is so smart. How did you know this? I know, right? It is super smart. And I learned it all from this girl, Megan. She teaches women how to confidently and efficiently use their money to their benefit. You can follow her too, at Women and Wealth.
So if you think this seems too good to be true, it actually is. The trust laws in Canada. So first thing that I did was I actually went to her website, which I will share with you. I will walk you through it. First of all, no mention on where she is in the world. We have no idea what country, what state or province, what her designations are, what her licensing is, what her education is. Nothing. Just a video, which prompted my sister to send me that, going, because my parents are fine, but just more of a like, hey, should mom and dad kind of know about this? So 100%, this is not a Canadian created piece of information. Our trust laws in Canada are completely different than those in the US. We have a 21-year deemed dispositional on everything except for 4 trusts, which is the Qualified Disability Trust, the Henson Trust, Spousal Trust, and Common Law Trust. We have different taxes that apply to these trusts. We have beneficiary designations that you can't just willy-nilly move people in and out of trusts, and who settles the trusts. Now, do you pay taxes rolling it in, or do you pay taxes rolling it out? Now, some of you on here might be going, I have no idea what Brandon just said, and that's okay. This entire situation is not supposed to be putting anyone down or anything of that nature. The intent is to raise awareness on how much misinformation's out there, because you don't know where you're getting your information from. And I, on the other hand, and I will show you this right now, when I go to my LinkedIn page, here I am. As you can see here, under my About, I legally have to put a disclaimer. I have to tell you where my license is located. I have to tell you what the company is, which is Sun Life Financial. So we don't work for Sun Life. We have our license parked with Sun Life. I have to show a clear connections brochure, which basically allows you to go in and to download to see how I'm compensated. That's a law. Who are the mutual funds, ETFs, and stocks sold by? None of this is on her website. None of this is on her Instagram post, Twitter profile, nothing of the nature. So when this comes out and I see this, I go to the person's website immediately. So I'll show you her website right now, which is, go here. I'll share that, and then I'll go to her About. So as you can see on her About page, I actually scoured the entire page. There is no indication of where she lives, where her license is parked, what state or country she's in. A little bit about her story, but there's no links to verify that story or where her education is. And now my life looks like a little like this. Okay, that's great. This is all stuff that I'm legally not allowed to do, by the way. Some fun facts about me. Okay, this is a good spot. All right, I'm going to go and I'm going to see if I'm going to hire this person to give me financial advice. I'm a God-loving boy mom. Good for you. Doesn't apply. And an Enneagram 3. Don't know what that is. An INFJ on the Myers-Briggs and a human design generator. No application to finance whatsoever. She's a workout enthusiast, so that's great. And an avid lover out the outdoors. Again, no application to finance. These are all illegal things that we cannot do ourselves as licensed professionals in the business. We have AI scouring our LinkedIn pages, our Twitter pages, our Facebook pages. We consistently will get emails about what we can and can't post. We have to update all the thing that I just showed you down at the bottom of my LinkedIn profile. We have still do not know where she's located, what the tax laws are, what her education is. On my LinkedIn profile, I legally have to put my designations. I have to have it written somewhere. There's nothing of the sort. So this is the level of misinformation that gets put out there, and we get told that, oh no, you're wrong, I saw this on social media, or you're wrong, an influencer told me this. No, we legally also can't promise anything. We're legally not allowed to lead you in or mislead you in any direction. We will lose our license, we will lose our designations. And unfortunately, due to the laws currently, because social media travels so much faster than regulation, there is no recourse for these influencers putting out falsehoods. If someone were to come to me and tell me this exact same situation that she just described, the answer would be absolutely not. I would never put a principal residence into a trust to leave to a child. Yes, there's probate in the province of Ontario, which is 1.5%. But other than that, unless you want creditor protection or you want confidentiality, there's no step-up rule. That doesn't exist. Even the $700,000 of capital gains, that's completely inaccurate. Currently, according to legislation, only 50% of that 700,000 would be taxed in Canada. The 66% has not passed legislation yet. That was passed back on June. So the answer would be no, because we have the principal residence exemption. So why would you open yourself to the principal residence being taxed at the highest marginal tax rate, which is what our trusts are taxed in Canada. I'm going to show you one other example. Brad, do you mind playing the audio, and I'll tell you when to stop, please, and thank you.
Ever feel like running a business is like trying to solve a giant puzzle, but you're missing some pieces?
Yeah, that's a pretty common feeling.
You know, there are resources and connections out there that could really help you thrive,
Right.
but you're just not sure where to even begin to look for them.
Absolutely.
Well, today we're diving into something that might just be the missing piece: the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce.
The GNCC.
Yeah, the GNCC. Now, if you're anything like me, you might hear Chamber of Commerce and think,
Yeah,
well, that's probably just for those huge corporations, not for someone like me.
right.
But what if I told you the GNCC is actually all about empowering businesses of all sizes?
That's right. From the solopreneurs all the way to big companies.
Really?
Yeah, chambers of commerce are really all about amplifying the voice of businesses.
Okay.
They bring businesses together to create a collective force
I see.
and advocate for their needs and influence policy.
So it's not just about like those fancy networking events.
No, not at all.
There's some real power when you get a bunch of people together.
Oh, absolutely. Think of it this way. One single voice can easily be ignored. But when you get a chorus of voices advocating for a common goal,
Right.
that's a lot harder to dismiss.
That makes sense.
And that's where the GNCC steps in. They represent over 1,500 members,
Wow.
giving them some serious weight when they go to bat for policies that benefit the entire Niagara business community.
Wow, 1,500 members. That's a lot of voices.
Mm-hmm.
But what does
Thanks,
that
Brad.
actually look like? You know,
You can take yourself off mute, Mishka. So what we hear all the time is, I heard this podcast, I heard this on Spotify, I heard that. That's a pretty cool podcast. That podcast goes for about 16 minutes. Now, were you aware of that podcast, Mishka?
Not at all, Brandon. Did
Pretty
not know
impressive
about
though,
it.
right?
It's very impressive, actually. I looked at the wording that they used in describing our services and what we stand for, and it is not far off from what we are aligned with. Scary.
That is a 100% fake podcast.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
100%. Karina, am I lying? You can take yourself off, or Brad. It took me what?
You're
Karina,
not
it took me
lying at all.
It took me what, 60 seconds to make? 60 seconds.
Yeah.
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 All I did, ladies and gentlemen, I went to a free AI podcast session. All I did was copy in the GNCC's website.
Yeah.
Popped it in. It says, tell us what you want to talk about. Okay. Typed it up. I said, the audience should be somebody that does not know anything about the GNCC's website or the GNCC, and make it education. Hit submit, and within 60 seconds, 90 seconds, I had a 16.5-minute podcast completely generated by AI.
Yeah.
Completely fake. Those voices aren't real. Nothing about that podcast was real. And the amount of people that come to our firm and say, I heard this on Spotify. I heard this on this. I heard that on that. You don't even know if it's real. How do you know? It's not hard for me to basically, if I had a Ponzi scheme, or if I had a pyramid scheme, or if I wanted to pump up this stock, it's called a pump and dump, where you have penny stocks. It was in Wolf of Wall Street. This happens now all the time because of social media. And I'm wanting to really generate and push this stock. I can just create a one-pager, put it out. It would take me probably a couple of hours, and I would be able to generate an entire year's worth of content and create a Spotify podcast.
Yeah.
And it's not even me.
Yeah, and it's so unbelievable because what they also now can do is they can duplicate your voices, and they utilize video that is online too, and then change the messaging around. So I think businesses and organizations are in for quite some challenges as this moves forward, but especially when we look at the investing industry and how dangerous that can be.
Now, I'm going to show you also something. All right, so we're going to have a little poll. There's going to be 3 videos. And Karina's going to put out a poll at the very end. And all the participants, if you can just tell me which one's real, which one's fake. And as you can see, I do have glasses, and there was a script that I was reading. So like that, if you see my eyes, whatever that, like, is it? Let's go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Currie, and today we will be talking about finance. I really hope you enjoy this session today. We will call this video number 1. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Currie, and I am here to talk about finance. I really hope you enjoy the session today. We will call this video Glasses. Hello, my name is Brandon Currie, and today we will be talking about finance. I really hope you enjoy this session. In the spirit of Christmas, we will call this video Santa Hat.
You know what, in the meantime, Brandon, I would have almost liked to vote on it as well. So I can't as being one of the panelists,
Same.
but the outcome is right here.
Okay, perfect. So we had 36% of the people that voted went video glasses, 36 went video Santa hat is real, and 27% said video number 1. So again, all 3 videos are fake. All 3 videos, all they required was exactly what Mishka was telling about. This is a free website. It's called HeyGen. You can get different versions. The first version is free. You can do 3 videos a month. You just need 30 seconds. This was uploaded. All I had to do was record a video of myself. Not even those words. Those are none of those are my words. Just so that they can get a sample of my voice and a sample of a video. And then once that's uploaded and verified, I can then turn around and type in anything I wanted. I could have said, I fully endorse crypto, or the GNCC and Mishka is amazing. Well, you are Mishka, you know that. And I could have said anything I wanted. And someone can take a snapshot of that, upload it to AI, and that's the free version. That's 720p. That's not even 1080p or 4K, which are also options. That was not done with a high-res camera or a high-res phone. That was done with my 5-year-old laptop webcam. And that's how easy it is to create a fake video. So when someone tells you, I saw it on Instagram or I saw it on social media, you don't know if that's real or not, because it's very easy to pay $24 a year and to put up fake content, and you have no idea. This actually happened to Tom Hanks about 18 months ago, something of that nature. And he was selling this hair product or this revitalization product, and all they did was they took a sample. This is another reason why you have to be very careful with what you put out on social media, because it's public information. There's nothing stopping somebody from taking clips from your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, or your Instagram page, uploading it to an AI software, and making you say something that you never said. This happened quite a bit down south in the most recent US election. A lot of misinformation, and it's very easy to do. This entire process took no more than an hour to do all 3 videos. And that was me using it for the very, very first time. If I had any nefarious intent, I could have easily sunk some money into this. So I'm open to questions now. I said 20 minutes. I wanted to stick to 20 minutes, and we can go from there.
Brandon, thank you so very much for setting the tone for our discussion here today. It is really incredible to see, and I think it's extremely helpful. There's a couple of questions that have come in, and especially it's industry related. So it's AI and the investing industry. There are a range, and here's one of the questions. There are a range of AI tools. They go from looking at and helping you out with your portfolio management to stock analysis and investment research to market predictions and risk assessment and more. And there's a high number of them. What are some, so one of the first questions from one of our participants is, what are some of the ways AI is disrupting the DIY investing landscape, and how might this affect investors at this point? Because I think, as you're saying, as we're being bombarded with so many options that are available to us, very enticing for many reasons that are being put forward. But what are some of the ways that it's specifically disrupting the investment industry?
So what you're going to be getting is, so AI has some positives, but it also has a lot of negatives that come with it. So what you get from AI, and AI has been used quite a bit. For example, I'll just use Sun Life because I'm very familiar with their group retirement services platform. So Sun Life is the largest group retirement services pension broker in Canada. And when you go on and you do your questionnaire, it will then compute and then tell you exactly what your risk profile is. And it'll tell you exactly what stocks or what's bonds or ETFs to actually choose. The problem that we see all the time, though, with that, because that is DIY, to do it yourself. The problem that we see is that we consistently get people coming in and going, my group retirement portfolio is not performing the same as what you're doing. And the reason is that I ask a lot more probing questions to get you to your goal. Whereas if I just put a test in front of you, typically people err more on the side of conservative than they do on the side of bullish or growth. And without any guidance to what these questions actually mean, they end up going into more conservative portfolios, and they don't end up hitting their retirement goals. The other thing that we're seeing on DIY platforms, and I know because I have, just to goof around with it, Wealthsimple as an example, I constantly get stock suggestions to invest in, whether or not I'm in that particular industry or it meets my risk profile, or I might have, let's say, Apple, and they'll say, you should invest in Tesla. I've never subscribed to any of these types of things. I've never subscribed to crypto, for example, on the Wealthsimple platform. I consistently get bombarded with stock suggestions and different crypto suggestions. And what we're finding is people are putting money into places where they shouldn't be putting their money into, because it does not anywhere come close to the risk profile. And that's the disconnect. AI is very good at when you add it with some sort of human intervention, where you have knowledge to put context to the questions.
That makes sense, actually. I think that many of us also in organization are embracing AI. We see the potential of AI. We see its application in business. We see its application in healthcare. We see its application in so many other sectors of it. So there are some benefits to it, and likely also some benefits to investors. Some people are looking at it and saying it's a cost savings, it's efficient, it provides me with advanced analytics that at my fingertips by using it. But often, as you pointed out, over-reliance on technology, data inaccuracy that could happen, cybersecurity risks could be part of it. Those are like elements that we need to learn how to balance and apply that almost human judgment and professional advice to that which is given to us. So as a DIY investor, where do we find the balance? How do we move forward in finding that, to saying, yes, I'm utilizing this, and then the idea is that I do some research, I do some background utilizing AI, and then seeking out a professional to say, am I on the right track here?
Yes, absolutely. So you have the option where, just like an accountant or a lawyer, you can go to fee for service, certified financial planners who will, for a fee, which is about, $2,500, $3,000 north, depending on how complex your plan is. And they will do that for a fee and help you guide. And now it can be an a la carte type of service because they don't get compensated in any way. That is what you should do, especially if you're not researching and knowing exactly what you're buying, and you're not on calls and what have you, because you have a day job. The other thing that AI is doing with these DIY platforms that a lot of people need to know, and Warren Buffett had a famous quote with Robinhood during COVID when these DIY platforms exploded. And he made the quote, he's like, I don't know how Robinhood in particular, how they're getting paid. He's like, how are they offering trades for free to everybody for no cost? Well, when they went public, they had to do when they did their IPO, they had to actually release how they get paid. And as we all suspected, they get paid based on order flow. Order flow is where Robinhood doesn't place any of the trades. Wealthsimple, name yours. If they get paid on order flow, they don't place any of the trades. They find a third party called, I'll make it up, JP Morgan as an example. And JP Morgan will pay Robinhood to file all those trades. But they get it. This is all in nanoseconds, you have to remember. They get it before they get your order before it actually has to get placed. So they know where the market's going before the market goes. So think of millions of trades going into JP Morgan because they've paid for that right. So they now know where millions of people are putting their money nanoseconds ahead of the market actually opening up. That's called order flow. Now, if they act on that information and it's proven in a court, which has been on a couple of occasions, there's massive, massive amounts of fines because that's illegal. That's insider information. Whereas I don't act on order flow. I just place the order. Sun Life facilitates the order. And so everything stays within house. So if you're getting something for free, you have to really ask, how are they getting paid? No one just creates a platform and just gives you that service for free. As they say, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So where are they getting their information from? And that's the scary thing about do-it-yourself platforms and what have you, because people are being put into areas where they shouldn't be, and it doesn't match their goals.
And I think it's good when we actually look back at the goals that individuals have, and that is really building our investments for the reasons that we had at the beginning of our webinar set out, and that is to give us a bit of freedom and to be buffered to some of the stress factors, potential buffer to some of the stress factors that we have. Some data shows that AI tools for investing, their success rate is moderately high. They're good at data analysis, they lack the human judgment, and they struggle specifically when it comes to unexpected market volatility and uncertainty. It's a very hard one for AI to comprehend, which is understandable. Then when we compare to DIY, just do-it-yourself investing, and I probably can say this too, the success rate varies significantly because it's driven by the user's skills and knowledge. Some people are extremely skillful. The majority of us, maybe not in the same degree. And when it comes to professional advice, like people turning to you, the success rate statistics show that the success rate of dealing with a professional is consistently high, especially when we look at it for the long term, just because of the experience, the market knowledge, the context in which they can actually make decisions on behalf of their client that's there. Do you think that stats as such might also help people in looking at it? Because sometimes people need the facts behind it to saying that, where is my success rate in this one? What is my potential return that I have when I go down any one of those three avenues? For me personally, it would always 100%, I stay away from DIY investing because I just don't have the deep knowledge of the markets or the skills or even spending the time for it. So for me, that would be an out, which would then leave me to the two others. And I personally would be driven by the outcomes, the success rate overall. Is this how customers are making decisions right now? Is this how investors are looking at their own portfolios?
Depending on the demographic. So your just for lack of a better description, your older demographic still relies on your advisors or your personal finance experts, because the technology, really, this AI technology is, yes, it's been around for a bit, but really in the last 3 years. To hit a point home, one of the board members for the GNCC is Mr. Ron Hurst. His son-in-law is Preet Banerjee, Dr. Preet Banerjee, who just got his PhD in finance. He lives in the UK. He was actually a speaker at one of our conferences. And he did a 7-year study for his thesis, and he came up with the exact stats that you just told us. And it's about 15% higher dealing with a designated licensed professional. You would get, over the course, 15% more money on average, depending on risk profile, than using AI or DIY. An anecdotal example would be something along the lines of COVID. When COVID hit in March, well, end of February of 2020, the amount of phone calls that came into our firm on people that would want to have sold, they wanted to sell, was astronomical. All my clients except for 2 listened and did not sell. The bottom of the market, which was March 23rd, 2020. And by the end of 2020, they had all made their money back, and they had all increased by 15 to 20% based on the advice. The reason being is I knew what was going on with regards to what was causing the market to react the way that it was reacting. But if you were on a DIY platform, all those people would have sold and gone into cash. Or if you were using some AI function that would automatically trigger a sale because it dropped below a certain level. To your point, Mishka, AI doesn't know why it's dropping. It just knows that it dropped. And so it doesn't know that a global pandemic that we probably sat back and went, no, there's going to be a solution here. Governments are going to step in. They're going to be funding the market. And for 2 straight years, we had people that were up 20, 30, 45%. And in that aspect, have completely crushed their goals and what they wanted to accomplish. The people that decided to sell, which we legally have to abide by, if they say they want to sell, we have to tell them that we have to sell their portfolio. They never recovered. They never recovered. They never, when you compare the portfolio that they were in before to if they would have stayed invested, they never ever made their money. They never ever closed that delta.
Wow, that's amazing, actually. And I think that is where likely the human judgment is the element that is critical in those decisions, because we are faced more often than not, actually worldwide, with unforeseen things, and they are all impacting our return. Brandon, while we have you here, there's a couple of our participants who've asked questions slightly not as much related to AI, but related to RRSPs, TFSAs, and FHSAs. And I was wondering if we can get to them just for a few minutes. We will return to the AI component of it. But one of the participants is asking, can you explain the tax advantages of using a combination of RRSPs, TFSAs, and FHSAs, which are the first home savings account, the last one is, in an investment strategy? How can people best move forward with those 3? What are their roles? And maybe we also should probably look at, because we're in December as we're holding this webinar, if there's any year-end impact that might also need to be considered.
Absolutely. So RSPs are pretty self-explanatory. You are granted your room by your previous year's income, 18% of your previous year's income, up to a maximum. And you accrue that ever since you start filing T4 income. You can open one up when you're 18, but if you've accrued that amount of money, at 16. So for example, when I opened up my RRSP and when I was 18 years old, I had been working since I was 14. I had accrued RRSP room. I just couldn't legally put any money towards it. It's linked to your social insurance number. Every dollar that you contribute gets deducted off of your gross income. So if you make $50,000 a year, your payroll provider will tax you at the marginal tax rate off of your paycheck as if you made $50,000 a year. But throughout the year, let's just say you put $10,000 into an RSP. At the end of the year, you submit a form and that 10 grand gets deducted off of your 50. So you've made, in the eyes of the CRA, $40,000. The CRA goes, well, I owe you the tax back on the between the 50 and the 40 that you paid. It's really, really basic. There's a lot more convoluted into tax strategies that go into that, but that's essentially how you get your refund back. When you use your RRSP room, you lose it. You don't get it back. So, which will lead us to why, for people who are just starting out or who are in lower income area on the income threshold, I typically would use the tax-free savings account. Tax-free savings account, the CRA grants you room every single year. So we know in January 2025, $7,000 will be granted in tax-free savings account room. And if you were 18 in the year 2009, you will have at that stage, I believe, $109,000, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to reread the press release. Once you use that room and you take money out of the tax-free savings account completely tax-free, all growth is tax-free, you get the money back, that room, the following year. However, you get no deduction against your income for any contributions because you use after-tax income. And then third is the first home savings account that just got launched in the last 18 months. This is like the RRSP and the TFSA had a baby, and you get the best of both worlds. Every dollar that you contribute to the first home savings account is a deduction against your income and does not affect your RRSP room. All growth and investments grow tax-free. We're at just like the TFSA, whereas in the RSP, they grow tax-deferred. As long as you withdraw the money from a first home savings account for your principal residence, for your first principal residence, that withdrawal is completely tax-free. And then once it's done, you close down the account. That is it in a pretty nutshell. We get a lot of misinformation with regards to why do I want to open up a tax-free savings account when I can only put GICs in it? That's completely false. You can put anything you want in it that you put into an RRSP. So that's a big piece of misinformation that we get.
No, that makes sense, actually. Any specific timelines for our attendees to consider when putting money into it, when topping it up? There's a limit to when, and looking at tax implications when it comes to when we can put money, the last deadline to put money into our RSPs and others for forthcoming tax returns.
Yeah, so I always use, just to be safe because of, the different years, the leap years, I always say, hey, if you use until the end of February as your marker in your head, I know what the date will be because CRA will release it to us. But if you use the end of February as your marker to make a contribution to your RRSP to allocate it to the previous year, you can use that as your deadline. Tax-free savings accounts don't have deadlines. As long as you have the room and you don't over-contribute, you're fine. And the first home savings account, you have until December 31st of that year. Maximum contribution is $8,000 in 1 year. You can only carry over 50% of unused room. So you can only carry over you can only carry over 1 year's worth into the following year. And then once you don't use it, you lose it. And the lifetime maximum is $40,000 currently.
Yeah, I think so too. How individuals that are looking at making those choices, looking at getting input from a licensed financial professional, what are some of the things that they need to look for in choosing one? What is the best way in moving forward? Is there an association? Is there a rating? Is it like, who do I
Yeah.
know? How do people make a decision that they then feel like I'm confident in dealing with this person?
So to use the certified financial planning designation, it is a arm's length third party called FP Canada. You can go on there, you can use your location, and you can look at all the people that have their certified financial planning designation in the country. And they will tell you whether or not they are in good standing, do they have any findings, that sort of thing. Then you have people who are licensed in the province of Ontario. You can go to IROC or you can go to MFDA, same type of situation, find an advisor that's near me. And then they are the ones that, and again, are they in good standing? Have they had any findings? Are they, in trouble with the law? That sort of thing, because all that has to be disclosed when I renew my license.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. We have also a very unique question coming in. If people are splitting a household, there's a couple who's splitting up, do they need to turn to financial advisor for how to best move forward in this and saying like, and instead of having it go through the courts or other ways? So it's a very particular question. You might not have the answer. I most definitely don't have it, but is that also a time when people should turn to a financial advisor to saying, here is the best way that you're protecting the equity that you have built up as a couple in this household?
So the way to look at it, simply, the provinces handle property, the federal government handles marriage, and they also handle the child support payments and the spousal support payments if those are one. With regards to getting the separation agreement drafted, you can go to a mediator or you can go to a lawyer. When it comes to finances and who owes what money, essentially I have to act on a court order. I can't just say, oh, I'm going to take, okay, Mishka, you and I are married. Okay. Don't tell your husband. Okay. And we are splitting. I can't just say, all right, Mishka, here's 50% of my RRSP money, and you're going to give me 50% of your tax-free savings account. That can't happen. You need a court order, and it needs to be done with actual government forms in order to make sure that there's no tax consequences. So the short answer is see a financial advisor, go see a lawyer or a mediator, and allow the process to take place, or an accountant, a chartered accountant. Yes, you will pay, but it's worth its weight in gold.
It makes sense. Future trends. This is another question that has come in, and it's actually turning us back to AI a little bit here. How do you see advancements in AI? We looked at situations, and you gave us really good examples of what AI is able to do right now. We talked about some of the return of by utilizing AI investment tools and what to expect at that time. But when we look down the road, and so many organizations are right now asking themselves that question, what does it look like in 3 years from now, 5 years from now? What kind of advancements in AI are shaping the financial landscape in those next 5 to 10 years? And what do individuals need to do to stay ahead of those advancements?
That's a really loaded question. I mean, the videos that I just made weren't available about a year ago. Not at that quality, not at the quality that I did. So, I mean, 3 to 5 years, it could be very much 3 to 5 months. AI is still going to be there to help people. You have to remember, it's a computer. It's just ones and zeros. They don't take into account any feelings, any emotions. They don't take into account any, do I want ESG or do I want to invest in tech, or the fact that I want to be retired by 65. So that might change later on down the road. I mean, that's I want to retire at 65 and I want to do this, that, and the other thing. That'll change, and that'll change in months. That won't change in years. But it's really hard for me to know how fast this can go, and whether or not, you know, you're going to be given good advice, without any context to the advice. So that's the one thing that I'm going to be really worried about, and with people coming in, because once the damage is done, it's really, really hard to undo the damage.
Yeah, I can imagine actually that being the case. And I think you're making a very good point in speaking about the values, because I think we all have and hold values that I think need to be and likely will be reflected in our portfolio and investments that we make. We're not only looking at the bottom line, but likely we also hope that our investments are kind of having an impact on the community the way we want to actually see it. How can investors and the public protect themselves from the influence of AI manipulated content when researching investment opportunities? You gave us really good examples, clear examples. I started to think about when you showed the first video of what maybe potentially could be the impact. So I was going down that pathway right there. But how can we differentiate between it? You showed us saying, go and see the link. Maybe some links are better from some AI generated manipulated content than others. But how do we know that what we're dealing with, or that it is AI manipulated content, especially when it relates to researching investment opportunities?
If you're not dealing with an actual licensed certified financial planner, there's been things that I've seen on social media and I've been like, that doesn't make any sense. It's only because of my level of knowledge on trusts. I just knew that that was all completely fake. I would, very much like an accountant, you join business groups, you join the GNCC, you network, you get to know people, you align yourself with people that you trust, you encapsulate yourself in your circle of trust. You cannot be an expert in everything. It's impossible. I go see a chartered accountant. I do not do my own taxes. A doctor does not do their own surgeries. A dentist does not do their own teeth extraction. A lawyer cannot do their own. They don't even see, they get a will and a power of attorney done by another lawyer.
Yeah.
So you have to see, we have experts for a reason. I think in order to protect yourself, the time that you need to spend is on, one, researching the professionals that you actually deal with. That's number one. Take your time, really research their backgrounds, make sure that you're comfortable and then there's an alignment there. Two, what I challenge a lot of people on, especially people who are entering retirement, really think about what retirement's like. What are your goals? What are your dreams? Where do you want this ship to go? Right? I mean, yeah, you're technically the captain of that ship, and I'm just guiding you with the sails. But if you don't know where the destination is, it doesn't matter who you deal with, right? And the third one, the one thing that can affect everyone in a positive way, really work on household budgeting and really watch the pennies, watch those nickels and dimes, because the dollars definitely will take care of themselves. I review my household budget every single month because costs go up all the time, right? And it's usually people run into financial situations that negatively impact their situation. It's not these massive, I went bankrupt or I lost all this money. That very, very rarely happens. It's usually death by 1,000 cuts. So it's your phone bill goes up, your property taxes go up, your heat, hydro, water, they all go up, interest rates go up. And the next thing you know, the house of cards starts to fall because it's too many things going on at the same time. And we've all experienced it in the last 2.5 years, costs increasing. And that's to no fault of your own. But the way to mitigate that would be to really watch and create a household budget. And there's a lot of those examples online that you can do.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely critical. I think every business does a budget, and I think every individual and family unit and household actually needs to do the same. So I think we can, as individual, maybe dive into and seeing that this is AI generated content that is trying to sell me something, trying to promote something, and maybe we're all likely get to the point of being smart enough to say maybe not all of it is true. But there's also the step that you brought forward, and especially when you did the little quiz, or we did the little quiz, the steps on what can individuals and businesses do to protect themselves from AI-driven reputational harm. And there you gave the example of the 3 ways where people put words into your mouth, where you created it, someone else can do it on our behalf, you did it on behalf of the GNCC, with you know, anyone can do it. How do businesses protect themselves from something like this, and how do individuals do it without saying continuously, it wasn't me who sent it, it wasn't us, it's this or that? How do we protect ourselves?
So with regards to the podcast piece, just really make sure that the information on your company that's out there is clean, it's cut, you know what it, like, so for example, there was nothing nefarious or bad that podcast said about the GNCC, because if you go onto your website, it's a clean-cut website, right?
But on the other hand, it could have said anything about us and about anyone, and it could have come across as being highly believable. And there is such a reputational harm, a brand risk that organizations are facing.
So you just have to be really careful and really diligent and watch what's out there. Really, you know, make sure that what's being posted and what's being talked about, you know, it is actually accurate, and act very, very quickly. With regards to your personal, I'll be honest, I don't post a lot on social media. I don't post pictures of my children. I don't post videos of my children. It'll be really hard for you to find that. It's a very dark world out there. You have to be very careful. There's the ethical piece, because your kids are going to grow older one day. And would you have wanted that when you were 18, 19, 20? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But really be careful with what you put out there, because the minute they have 30 seconds to a 2-minute clip, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and I think it's true. We're coming close to the end of it. So I think when we're looking at AI tools for do-it-yourself investing, I think we touched on some of the limitations of those tools, and really are stressing combine the insights that people have with some research and or professional advice to make sure that it's right. The second one I also want to point out to our audience is assess the costs of some of those tools, because many of them have subscription fees, or they charge in advance of any features being utilized too. So I would be cautious on that end as well, because that can be a concern to some others, and prioritize security to protect any sensitive financial data. And I would really say that before sharing some of your own financial data with any AI tools, be really, really careful about doing so, because there's a high risk by doing that. So that's kind of how I would wrap up this webinar. But Brandon, I want to give the last minute to you as just a way of saying, maybe addressing something that we haven't addressed, or of just wrapping it up for our audience.
Just thank you very much for the opportunity. Karina and Brad, you guys did an amazing job. Thank you for being my my great assistants here, and letting us play with this technology. That was a lot of fun. Karina and I were having some good laughs because we were thinking about what your reaction was going to be, Mishka. So it was a lot of fun in that aspect, but please be diligent, please be aware, and please deal with professionals, because there can be a lot of damage that is done financially that you cannot recover from, you know, if you don't rely on these professionals. They're professionals for a reason.
Yeah. Actually, Brandon, you're absolutely right. I am stressing prioritize security to protect any sensitive data that you have. Look and assess the cost of some of the tools. Maybe some of them have advantage or not, but assess them really freely, and also do be aware of the limitations that are there, and maybe the benefits that a professional advisor actually can give you. So Brandon, thank you so very much for being with us on this really important topic. And our thanks also go to the YMCA of Niagara for being the power behind it. To our audience, if you have any topic ideas or speakers that you wish to consider for Lunch and Learn for 2025, please feel free to contact us. We'd love to hear from you. And to all of you, thank you for joining us.